Okay, so if I want to draw this plate up here in front of me, I'm going to lock my wrist and measure from the top of the plate to the front lip of the plate. Then I'm going to turn my pencil sideways, and it looks like it is about halfway across, isn't it? So then I'm going to go to my canvas, and I'm going to decide how big I want that plate to be. So if I'm going to draw that plate in the middle of the canvas, I'm going to set up a width, and my width is now arbitrary, but I'm going to draw a horizontal line because this plate up here from one side of the ellipse to the other side of the ellipse is a horizontal. The widest parts lay on a horizontal, okay? So I've got that set up. Then I decided that it was about half as high as it was wide. So I'm going to take this measurement right here. I'm going to split my pencil in half. I'm going to say it's only going to be that high. So I'm going to go about half that again and do about this high above it and this high below it. And now I have a parameter set up. You see this parameter that I've set up to draw my ellipse, right? Now comes the hard part, and this is where I need to do the training. So this week is all about training my hand to draw curvilinear lines, all right? So I recommend that you hold your pencil like this with your thumbnail on top of it and your fingers up against the page. That's going to be drawing. So notice that I'm drawing from my shoulder now again, right? And I'm drawing loosely on the page to draw an ellipse. It comes out much better than if I'm up here like this and I'm trying to draw that ellipse, especially if I'm trying to do this, right? These kind of searching hairy lines all around the ellipses are the first thing we want to get away from, right? I hold my pencil like this. You may also hold your pencil this way if you want, of course. This is the way that I write. I can hold that way. If I rest my pinky finger, oftentimes I'm putting my pinky down on the paper and I'm sort of feeling the page so that I kind of draw around like that. In order to do that, I have to have my paper higher or I have to be lower so that I can feel my way around a ellipse and draw this way, right? So I'm going to draw an ellipse into there that's going to try and hit my lines. And I'm going to notice a few things immediately. So this ellipse that I drew right here, let's take this ellipse and analyze it. If I take my center line and go through the middle, I notice that this quadrant over here is quite flat, right? And this is my problem with ellipses that I find is, you know that little splat monster that's on your phone that's kind of flat like this and then has, my ellipse is always a rounder on the top and flatter on the bottom. I don't know why that is, but it's just, I think it's the way that my elbow like hits my hip or something when I'm drawing. So I have to be aware of that. That's part of the reason I hold my pencil like this. I want you to try both of these things. And I want you to just make some ellipses on your paper to start where you're really practicing. Maybe you want to put a parenthesis here and kind of round yourself out and round yourself out. Maybe you actually want to flip your board. Since I know I'm better at drawing ellipses up than down, maybe I should be doing that to see if I can't get a nice consistent ellipse in my drawing. Okay, then I know this is tangent. This would be the bottom of a bottle, would go up like that, right? My center line would go right through the middle of it. But I'm drawing the plate. So this plate curves down in, right? Which makes the bottom of the plate, this is a good plate to draw because it has this curve. You notice that this front edge of the plate is short and the back edge of the plate is bigger. So the foot of the plate is actually sitting down on the table. So what I see is that there's another ellipse that's wider here and here, and actually the center line for that ellipse is below this line here. And that ellipse sits like so. And this ellipse kind of comes up right up to the front of the ellipse of the other plate in this direction here. It's too pointy on the ends. I want to iron that out. I want to come in here and work this out a little more. So again, I've slowed way down and I've started working on that plate. Now here I need to get my eraser involved because I've drawn so many lines. This is so hairy. I'm not really sure what's going on. So I'm going to come with this and I'm going to redraw that ellipse with my eraser. Just enough to the point where I can come up here and show you that this is the line that I wanted to use for my ellipse edge of the plate. And this is the line for what I wanted to use for the bottom of the plate where it's actually hitting the table. All right, so if I get a bowl or a cup, the challenge here is drawing the ellipse on the top of the cup, getting the line through the center of it, drawing an ellipse down here at the bottom of the cup, understanding maybe I want to do an angle this way so that I'm measuring from this point to this point on the cup, figuring out kind of how that is. Maybe I want to come along this edge and say, well, it drops kind of straight down here and then it drops in like this and then it comes really sharply at the bottom, right? So that this curve here is drawn into something that replicates this cup a little bit more. This way first, this way, then that way. If my height to width proportion isn't proper on this cup, or if this, notice how this edge of the cup is not the same on the other side of the line as that one, this needs to be a little bit rounder. So I'm going to go in there and change it a little bit. This drops straighter on the right side than the left, so I'm going to go in and change a little bit. The handle of this cup attaches on this ellipse here. So when I'm looking at this handle, I want to think about the way this is structured and notice that it's connected here, and they're moving in a replication of this line around the edge of the cup. So in the book, it told you the cup goes like this, right? Round and round and round and round and round. So here I'm attaching this handle, top and bottom, like that. Then I'm noticing this comes out this direction a ways. I want it to be this way. So I want to attach it here. You see the shadow. This is coming up this way. It's really curving sharply up here. So I wanted to do something. Now I'm kind of sketching and scribbling, but I'm looking at the handle of the cup. I'm not looking at my drawing. I'm seeing my drawing. But I'm understanding how to attach these. Now I'm seeing down underneath here that this comes across, and then I see this come up and attach up in there, and then I see this come up the side of the cup. This goes across this way again. I see this attaching down here, and I see this coming over, and I actually see the end of this here, and I see the top of it here. So there's sort of a ribbon effect happening here where if I draw a ribbon like this, let's say, and then I drop it down like so, I might see the ribbon here on this side, and the ribbon here on this side, and the ribbon here on this side, and the ribbon here on that side. And that's kind of what's happening with the handle of this cup, right? So I'm seeing the edge of the cup start here and attach the inside. I'm seeing this attach the outside to the top. And then here I'm seeing this part up here. But because I'm looking down on it, that disappears into it about here. And that's about where I start to see this disappear into this side. So if I get my eraser into this a little bit, you can see better what I've described with the handle of that cup. But again, I'm slowing everything down and I'm taking it step by step and I'm trying to think about how things are manufactured, what it is I'm seeing, how it attaches to the cup, how that relates to the cylinder and the ellipse. All right, the first page is abstract. So I want you to make small ellipses and I want you to make big ellipses. And I just want you to see what happens with your hand. I want you to see if this is difficult for you. I want you to notice if your ellipses start tilting this way. And if they do, I want you to put a line through them. And try and correct them, all right? So first you're just gonna draw loosely and freely. And then you're going to go like this and you're gonna judge it. And you're gonna say, well, is it flat on the bottom? Does it need to be rounder down here? Is it pointy at the ends? Does it need to be rounder in here? Let's try drawing. Some of you have had some drawing experience, so you know where your ellipse problem is. I know mine is that my ellipses, like this ellipse right here, is flat on the bottom. It's pointy on the left. It's round like an egg on the right. This ellipse isn't great, but this is kind of how my first ellipse comes out usually when I draw. Knowing is half the battle, right? Knowing that I have that problem, if I draw the top of a cup, let's say, and I know that my tendency at the bottom of the cup is to make my ellipse too flat, then all I have to do every time I do it is go ahead and redraw it. A little bit lower. So right now you're just drawing from imagination, you're just trying your hand. You're making some ellipses. The next step on this same sheet of paper is to set up an ellipse. So you're going to arbitrarily set something wide and then set a line up above and below that line. So you're getting a box to draw into. And then you know you got to hit this point and this point. And this point and this point. So try that. And then try it bigger and then try it smaller. Make sure that you're not resting your hand on the page. Make sure you're not resting your elbow on the table. Make sure that you're drawing from your shoulder.